It is indeed an honour to have you with us here this afternoon for the Keren Hayesod annual June conference. Without further ado, I would like to ask to the stage our world chairman of Keren Hayesod-UIA, Mr. Moody Zandberg. Bevakasha.
This is a very special event for all of us, an event that does not take place every day. The inauguration of the ICEA award. And we always blamed as politicians that we talk a lot. But we are very proud when we find a sentence that can summarize everything, and then we feel that we really made it short. So I find one that I think describes the whole thing, a quote from Isaiah, the words of the prophet, that I can quote, but it doesn't mean that I will not continue speaking after it. It says in Hebrew, "Velo yisa goy el goy cherev, velo yilmedu od milchama." Nations will not take up swords against each other, nor they train for war anymore. A month ago, we met Dr. Henry Kissinger. It was a very interesting meeting in the United Nations, and one young woman of Keren Hayesod asked him, "What are your expectations from us, the next generation?" And Henry Kissinger thought a little bit and said, "I believe that stating or posing your opinion somewhere is not enough. You have to do, you have to act, you have to take an action." And I think that that's the reason why we are honored to bestow on you, Ms. Stone, the ICEA Award. Because I think that not only you care for what we call in Hebrew tikkun olam, amending the world, making it a better place, but you also do. You do, you support, you encourage, and for us, this is the difference that makes our future better. We need to work on that. We need to build it up. We need to create those bridges and connections that will come and bring peace from a place of a dream and a plan to reality. I think that this is the contribution of projects like the ones that you support. So I would like to conclude with one word, Yalla. Let's continue. Thank you very much, and we appreciate it very much.
I would like to tell you, Ms. Stone, and the audience, that the last time this Isaiah Peace Award was given out was 18 years ago in a magnificent event in Washington at the State Department, where Keren Hayesod bestowed it upon the then President of the United States, President Bill Clinton, in the presence of the then Prime Minister of Israel, the late Yitzhak Rabin, Zichrono Livracha. I was absolutely fortunate to have been at that particular event. That was the last public event overseas where Yitzhak Rabin was actually present. And Chai in Hebrew, 18 years in Hebrew is Chai. Chai in Hebrew is life. We are continuing, we believe in continuing with life, we believe in continuing with Chai, and there's what joins us all here together. In order to introduce you formally, our wonderful Yoki Arbiv Perugia from Rome, from Israel, who travels all over the world on behalf of Keren Hayesod-UIA. Yoki, bevakasha.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is always a special experience for me, and I think for all of us, to gather here in Jerusalem. It is, of course, the religious, the historic, and spiritual center of the entire Jewish world, the eternal capital of our people. Jerusalem is also a city and unparalleled global significance, the focus of 3 monotheistic faiths and beyond. Just being here tonight and experiencing the unique atmosphere of Jerusalem also reminds us what an incredible, beautiful city it is. In fact, the sages of the Talmud tell us 10 measures of beauty were bestowed upon the world. 9 were taken by Jerusalem. However, Jerusalem's significance extends way beyond that of a mere city. Even when it is one of the world's most picturesque, Jerusalem is also an incredibly powerful symbol. More than any other location in the world, Jerusalem has come to represent our dreams and our hopes. Through 2,000 years of exile and persecution, Jerusalem represented the Jewish dream of freedom and liberty. For 2 millennia, Jerusalem became a byword for a happier time, for an age when our people decided its own future. Incredibly, this has become a reality. But Jerusalem still endures as a potent symbol. It continues to represent the powerful global message of hope and, of course, of peace, shalom. Ancient sources refer to the Jerusalem as the city of peace, and it is no coincidence that the word shalom, peace, forms the root of the word Jerusalem, Yerushalayim. Therefore, there can be no more appropriate setting than here in Jerusalem to represent and to present the Isaiah Award for Distinguished Leadership. This is one of the highest awards given by Keren Hayesod-UIA. It is reserved for those who have played outstanding dedication to the values of Tikkun Olam, healing the world and making the world a better place. If anywhere represents the desire and the dream of building a better future, it is here in Jerusalem. Which brings me on this evening's worthy recipient, a woman who unquestionably embodies these values. In addition to being a celebrated actress, producer, and director, Sharon Stone is a distinguished leader, furthering a variety of worthwhile causes. It is instructive to know that in Hebrew, the word for leadership, manigut, has its linguistic roots in the word for behavior. It reminds us that the essence of real leadership, of the quality of a leader, is not found in what you preach, but in how you conduct yourself. To be a true leader is to be a role model and to live by the values that you champion. Sharon, if I may call you so, your decade of activism epitomizes this concept. In today's world, the demands of a 24/7 media and the power of new social online tools means that celebrities are under the spotlight like never before. This comes with its undoubted pressure, but it also gives celebrities an unrivaled ability to highlight important causes. A single tweet from a well-known star can exponentially boost the profile of little-known issues. Sharon, you clearly have an exceptional talent in raising awareness for good causes. Your 5-minute presentation at the 2005 World Economic Forum in Davos reported solicitly millions of dollars in pledges to purchase mosquito nets in order to combat malaria in Tanzania. It is certainly a skill that we could use in our fundraising efforts here at Keren Hayesod. But crucially, it is the true spirit of quality leadership. You have gone way behind talking and simply lending your profile to endorse important issues. You have devoted enormous time and effort to the causes that you believe in. The fact that you have worked tirelessly for the past 20 years as the global campaign chair of the American Foundation of Aid Research speaks volumes. For the past several years, you have also dedicated yourself to the cause of Middle East peace in your capacity as cultural chair of Yalla Young Leaders, the largest online forum promoting dialogue across the region. When it comes to Tikkun Olam, healing the world, there can be no greater contribution than making peace a reality. Indeed, peace is the age-old burning desire of the Jewish people, who have for generations prayed for the fulfillment of the vision of the prophet Isaiah, for whom this award is named. Isaiah famously said, probably in a spot not far from here, "They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into running hooks. Nation shall not take up a sword against nation, nor will they learn war anymore." This is the heartfelt Jewish dream of the Jewish people and so many others. Yet, as you, Sharon, have said in the past, peace is an action. It cannot remain as a hope, as a wish. For any meaningful change to take place in the world, there must be action. This is an exceptional component, an essential component of leadership. That is why Keren Hayesod, we take such pride in empowering countless immigrants to Israel to build successful lives for themselves. It is why we develop programs for youth at risk in this country, which I hope you will have the pleasure of seeing. And it is why we back young Israelis to revitalize and bring new life to neglected neighborhoods and communities. Keren Hayesod continues to play an enormous role in shaping Israel's future, but only thanks to the time, effort, and dedication of many wonderful individuals, some of which are here with us tonight, that this is possible. And so when the outstanding contribution of somebody like yourself, Sharon, committed to building a better future, a better world, and not just talking about building a better world, we believe that it deserves true recognition. You have used your enormous success in the film industry to effect a positive change. You have harnessed your fame and used it to become a genuine global leader. While the world of celebrity inevitably focuses attention on individual personalities, it is the truest spirit of Tikkun Olam. You have grasped that very spotlight and made sure that it shines way beyond you, highlighting injustice and problems which remain unsolved. You have done all of this, and by doing what an outstanding leader must do, you have taken action, turning your convictions into a change that we all inspire and see. Sharon, in recognition of your leadership, which you have displayed and continue to exhibit in the quest to make a positive impact on the world, Keren Hayesod is proud to present to you with this prestigious award. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage our distinguished recipient, our guest of honor, Sharon Stone.
This is such an extraordinary honor. And it is such an extraordinary honor for me to be given this award following our former president, President Clinton, whom I admire so greatly, and who continues past his presidency to show such great dignity in healing the world. The prophet Isaiah said so many wonderful things, beginning with things that have inspired music, phrases that we use in popular music today, like war, what is it good for? It's true. We should turn our swords into good use for crops. We have crop shortages around the world, but we do not have shortages of war and injustice. There are starving children all over the world, and yet there are children dying all over the world from violence. This is an illogical state of affairs. It is true that inside of every one of us is a good and great heart. It is true that inside of every one of us is a good and great conviction to be our better self. Given to our own natural impulses, there would be no war. There would be no violence. There would be peace and healing and kindness. Our natural impulse when we see a child, a newborn child, is to hold and embrace and care for that child, is to heal that child, to comfort it, to feed it, to nurture it, whether that child is our own or a stranger. When we see that child begin to develop and grow, our natural impulse is to nurture that child, to teach that child, to care for that child, to guide and protect that child, whether that child is our own, our neighbor's, or a stranger. As that child begins to grow taller and taller, it is our natural impulse to guide and protect that child. We must ask ourselves, privately and in the moment of now, when is that moment in that child's height when we decide that that child is our enemy? Then we must ask ourselves, What is the greatest way to conquer our enemy? And logically, we can only respond. We can conquer our enemy only by making our enemy our friend. When we make that enemy our friend, we have gone to the greatest logical conclusion, because only then can we conquer turning our swords into our asset, into an economic, social, psychological, and physical asset to ourselves, our community, and our international cooperation. We are now a global community. There is no more of an individual community. We may set boundaries, community to community, race, religion, ethnicity, but there is no boundary that separates us. We are a global community. The pretense of separation exists only within our own fear-driven mind. What is good in fear? When we sit in this moment of stillness and we call upon the fears that exist in each and every one of us today, if we get present in the moment of now, which Isaiah asks us to do, become present in the now, and become fully present, we cannot sustain fear. The simple inertia of the movement, the physics of movement that occur in the movement of our planet do not allow us to sustain fear. The common sense of the prophet Isaiah, asking us to exist in the moment of now, does not allow us to sustain fear. And when we release fear and do as the prophet Isaiah asked, to exist in the moment of now, and again in the moment of now, and again in the moment of now, we release fear. And without fear, there is no hatred, there is no war, there are no boundaries, there is no separation, there is no turmoil, there is no distance between the self and other, and there is peace. When does peace begin? The prophet Isaiah said that peace begins in the moment of greatest darkness. And that moment of greatest darkness, where is it? Again, in the moment of greatest fear. For we don't create these moments of striking out unless we are lost in our moments of anxiety, compulsion, fear, rage, punishment. We don't strike out in our moments of love, presence, now, and compassion. We don't strike out unless we are reflexively punishing for loss, aloneness, desire for love unmet. We cannot accomplish the things that we wish to have unless we become present in the now. If we become present in the now and we face those greatest moments of grief and we allow that to overwhelm us, imagine becoming overwhelmed by your greatest grief. Imagine becoming overwhelmed by your greatest loss. Imagine becoming overwhelmed by your greatest feelings of revenge. Imagine becoming overwhelmed by your greatest feelings of love unmet. Imagine becoming overwhelmed by your greatest feelings of being without love. Then imagine everyone else on the planet who feels exactly as you do. Imagine that, if you will. Now be clear. You are not alone. You are not alone. And those who share your feelings. Your feelings of greatest difficulty, they do not exist inside the boundaries drawn. They exist globally. They exist in other races, religions, ethnicities, other ways within which they release themselves to their God. And within that, they reach back to you because they understand exactly the way you feel in the now. And by doing so, you are not alone, and by doing so, you have love. By doing so, your grief is dispersed, your lack of loss is dispersed. You are not unloved. This is, I believe, what the prophet Isaiah was trying to say. This is the beginning of peace. This is peace in action. You can demonstrate your peace in action with the simplest movements. The simplest movements. By letting someone out in traffic, for they may be going to reach a job opportunity, picking up their child at school, going to see the birth of their child, going to the cemetery to say hello to someone they've lost. They may be going somewhere just a little bit more important than you to the stoplight. Peace in action might be picking up a water bottle on the street so that it doesn't fall into your communal water system. Peace in action may be asking your neighbor if they need something or if they need to go somewhere. Peace in action may be helping a returning soldier get back into the system because they've seen horrors just too difficult for them to talk to you about. Peace in action is a healing thing. Peace in action is something each and every one of us knows how to do. If you want peace, peace is something that you can do now, and it begins without demand, without demands of any kind. For your demands of today are already a demand of yesterday. You can sit them down now. Whether you believe in any of the stories of your Bible or any of your books of your religion, whether they're meaningful to you or whether they're a parable, you can know that those people, those prophets, those stories were stories that asked you to pick up your joy and to sit down your suffering. To believe that God asked you to be those things that God created you, perfect you, to fit into the puzzle of humanity, so that you might be you, fitting perfectly in to the scheme of life, and that you might lift yourself, your face up to the goodness of that which you are, and to sit down those burdens that you carry, too weighty to go on, so that you might, in your lightness and your goodness, fulfill your true destiny, so that you, in the best of you, might peacefully move forward and embrace that which only you can do to your full and great goodness. For you, only you are perfect as you are. Go with God, go in peace, go in your goodness. Yalla.
Mr. Stone, ladies and gentlemen, if we had to wait 18 years until we represented the Isaiah Award, after hearing you today, it was well worth the wait. תודה רבה. I would like to ask Moody and Yoki to accompany Ms. Stone back up onto the stage in order to receive the award, please. I'll read it out for the benefit of everyone in the audience. The quote from Isaiah 2.4, "Nation will not take up sword against nation, nor will they train for war anymore." The Prophet Isaiah Award is hereby conferred upon Sharon Stone with heartfelt thanks for your presence at the Keren Hayesod United Israel Appeal World Conference, and in deep appreciation for your great generosity and tireless philanthropic activity. We share a common desire to make the world a better place to live in. Signed, Yoki, Moody and myself, June 2013, Tammuz 5773.